For today's cruise news, the price to sail on board a Royal Caribbean cruise ship has absolutely skyrocketed, and unfortunately the data suggests that the price will continue to increase as we sail into the future. In this video, we'll outline the reasoning as to why, and believe it or not, some of these reasons have a lot of people very frustrated. Also, Hurricane Debby has wreaked havoc on the cruise industry as well as some of the travel sector, causing delays in sailings, itinerary changes, and flight cancellations. We will go over some of the cruise lines that were affected during Hurricane Debby, as well as go over a reminder to all of you that you should adhere to in order to avoid having your vacation turn into a nightmare. Finally, the United States Department has issued a travel warning for a destination over in the Caribbean due to things such as high crime and other factors which we will go over. It is also important to note that this specific destination has been issued a travel warning not once but twice this year here in 2024. So what a mess. Hurricane Debby caused a lot of damage over in Florida over the weekend and as early as yesterday, causing things like flooding, power outages, you name it. Now initially Debby was supposed to just be a tropical storm. However, over the weekend it turned into a category 1 hurricane. Do keep in mind you go from category 1 to category 5. Nevertheless, it's still a hurricane causing a lot of damage with winds of up to 75 miles per hour. As you could imagine, some of the cruise ships that were sailing out of Florida and heading to Florida didn't fare so well against the hurricane. Just to name a few examples, you did have the port of Tampa completely shut down. The Margaritaville Islander was delayed. You had a delay with the NCL Sky. You had a port miss with Symphony of the Seas by Royal Caribbean. You also had the Carnival Paradise that had to have an extra sea day and delay its next sailing. Now, just to be clear, all of these ships are fine. Everybody is safe and sound. No ship was hit by a rogue wave. No ship sank. Nobody is lost at sea, or at least up until this moment. We are not going to get another movie like Poseidon or Titanic. Nevertheless, the fact still remains. A lot of people's vacations were massively impacted with all of the delays and cancellations, which is why I'm going to end this topic off here by reminding all of you to, 1, do not fly into your cruise port in which you are sailing out of the day of your cruise. A lot of people end up missing flights, which in turn they end up missing their cruise, and this leads to my second point. Some people didn't have insurance. If you're going to travel on vacation, especially even on a cruise, make sure you get travel insurance. Sailing into our next story, what in the Royal Caribbean is going on here? Royal Caribbean has officially reported that they are seeing somewhat of an uptrend, and by somewhat I mean a lot. Cruise prices are starting to hike up for Royal Caribbean, and they are intentionally doing this. Why? Simply put, passengers are willing to pay for those higher prices. With the demand to sail on board a Royal Caribbean ship being so high, Royal Caribbean themselves have reported that as of right now, they have ships, including the world's largest cruise ship, Icon of the Seas, capable of holding over 10,000 people, is oversold for the next 3 months. Now, as a direct effect of this overall positive news, Royal Caribbean is currently in the process of hiring over 10,000 brand new crew members from all over the world, and is set to complete this process by the end of 2024. Honestly, I do wonder how the vetting process is going to go. As they say, it is hard to find good work sometimes, and recruiting that amount of brand new people, potentially, like I said, you have new and you might have some veterans or maybe even some crew members that are being recruited from other lines, not intentionally, but with Royal Caribbean having the reputation that it does, a lot of people are naturally going to want to work for Royal Caribbean as opposed to potentially like a Carnival or an NCL. Maybe not Virgin, because I've said it before, Virgin is without a doubt the best cruise line to work for crew in many aspects. Anyway, we do have one more conundrum that passengers and potential would-be customers are also facing when it comes to sailing with Royal Caribbean. Many are complaining that the prices are getting just a little too high for comfort. Who's paying for these cruises? I've been on many a Royal Caribbean ship, and even as a travel agent, I do know the prices. You got some people out there paying as high as $50,000 or more for just 1 week of sailing. Some people are even taking those same prices for even shorter itineraries. Absolutely mind-boggling. However, Royal Caribbean, as they reported, people are willing to pay those prices. So again, you have a portion of people that are willing to pay the prices. You have, I would argue, even a bigger portion of people that are angry because they can't or don't want to pay those prices. It is a giant mess. However, overall, in the grand scheme of things, this is definitely a big win for not only Royal Caribbean, but the rest of the cruise ship industry. Finally, for our last story, I always wanted to say this, I hope I get it right. Bumbaclot! Jamaica is under fire, and I do say once again, the U.S. State Department has issued yet another travel warning for Jamaica. They have now bumped it up to level 3, which means reconsider travel. The last time they made this warning was on February 25th here in 2024. The reasoning as to why the United States Department and the U.S. government has issued yet another travel warning on Jamaica is due to high crimes. You have people being mugged, robbed, and physically assaulted. They are also highlighting the fact that if somebody should call emergency services, there could be a very long response time or lack thereof of said services. The United States Embassy has also reported that they are constantly getting reports of crime against U.S. citizens. I would assume primarily outside of the touristy areas like the cruise ports, for example. However, I could be wrong. They are also stating that whenever a would-be criminal is prosecuted, that they are prosecuted improperly. Now, as far as my opinion, I will say this. There are dangerous parts of literally everywhere you go. Every time I talk about this, a lot of the locals and people that tend to visit Jamaica frequently get mad at me for just simply talking about it. Please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just letting you know what's going on. Do I believe that some of this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo? Yeah, sure. However, this is what's being reported by the United States government, so it's kind of hard to argue with. However, if you're going to visit Jamaica, I wouldn't say stay away. If you have friends or family, or if you have been there several times and you know where you're going, then fine. If you are visiting Jamaica for your first time ever, then maybe you should practice just a little tiny bit of common sense and street smart. Don't go down any random alleys. Don't go away from the tourist areas without a guide, stuff of that nature. Don't run around with jewelry, and definitely don't try to buy a ridiculous amount of the ganja while you're there, and you should be just fine. Anyway, that's what we have for today's video. I do have another one coming up later today, and I mean it this time. I meant to put this video out last night. However, I got into some trouble with YouTube. They age restricted my last video, and well, I basically got put in the timeout corner. Nevertheless, I should be good to go this time, so be on the lookout for my next video. As usual, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit that like button on your way out, subscribe if you haven't already, and know as usual, I love and appreciate every single one of you. Take it easy.